am S. Mills Ely, and I am a resurrected believer in the Lord Jesus Christ. I was age 72 when I passed on in 1909. That was 113 years ago. I was born in 1837, exactly 250 miles east in Chester, Connecticut. I came here at age 16 to find my fortune, and indeed I found my fortune in all aspects of life. I actually joined this church right off at age 17. Back then it was the first Presbyterian church. My pastor was Pastor Goodrich. He's down in the historical section. Beautiful portrait of him. We're very grateful that this church community, very vibrant, very historical, shared the space. They came a long time before I came. I worked very hard, first in a general store, then in the coal business, which is quite dirty. Then I had partners in the wholesale grocery business. And then at age 36, I went out on my own. And I started my own wholesale grocery company. And you know what I called it?
S. Mills Ely.
Wholesale Grocery Company. That was my building on Depot Street, North Depot Street, across the tracks from Kilmer's building. Many of you know Remlix. And it was beautiful to come out that door and look up to Mount Prospect and just envision the fresh air and everything up there. So back then, I named my company S. Mills Ely, and I put Binghamton, New York, and my name on my products. I was Procter & Gamble before Procter & Gamble. I had my generic red monogram tea. I had my red monogram inkwell. I'd also give you black ink if that is what you wanted. Also later on, I had a Tower brand. I don't know what the deal is today with these companies. You got your Amazon, you got your Xerox, you got your Meta, Beta, whatever. I don't know why they don't put their names on it. When I was 30, I was very fortunate in my life to marry Mary Hart Hawley. I believe you strolled down her street on the way here today. She was a beautiful lady, and actually 1 year in, and it was 1 year, we had our first child, a son. His name was Richard, and unfortunately Richard passed when he was 1 year old. We put his name on this pew here. Very tragic. This pew over here, E.F. Layton and another guy by the name of Bump, we were partners in another business. We made something you sat on. Anybody remember the Binghamton Chair Company? That was us. We did well there. And thank God, 6 years later, Mary and I had a daughter, a beautiful daughter named Claire. We were very blessed. I put my beliefs to work. Back then in the wholesale grocery business, pretty much as it is today, number 1 and 2, high margin profit, alcohol, tobacco. I sold neither in my wholesale grocery business. And I did quite well. I put spiritual principles, spiritual beliefs ahead of profits. Back then, this was a fairly dirty city. A lot of smoke from the factories, the summer heat, a lot of particles in the air. As I said, I used to like to come out of my office building here on Depot Street, and you can still see on this building, GRO, the first 3 letters of my business, grocery. No longer can you see S. Mills Ely. I used to love to come out and look up at Mount Prospects. So I bought the mountaintop, 140 acres. Had a beautiful cottage up there. Ride the carriage up, enjoy the fresh air. In fact, I brought hundreds of kids up from New York City in the fresh air movement. they really very much enjoyed it. At age 55, my spiritual life grew even more so when evangelist B. Fay Mills came here on Water Street, built a temporary tabernacle. He was very inspirational. And my general manager in my business, 'cause I couldn't do everything, John Clements, well, he was with the Reverend Davis over there at the Practical Bible College on Riverside Drive. Maybe you remember it as White City, or before that time as Amusement Park. Well, he had this great sermon about the 7-story Christian, where you go into your life and you lay a foundation and you grow spiritually, you move up to the story, and you get much and much closer to God. 7-story Christian. So they inspired me to buy that wood from the tabernacle and build the Ely Tower up on Mount Prospect in 1878, something like that. It was a beautiful memorial to my belief and really the core of my success. I also helped start the Humane Society. I love the animals, and also the YMCA and the YWCA. In 1907, 2 years before my death, I donated all that beautiful land to the city of Binghamton with this special purpose to be used for recreational activities. Now back then, it took them a couple decades because there was a big debate in the 1920s. People thought tennis was too strenuous. We needed a golf course in the city of Binghamton. And lo and behold, we had one in 1933. Wasn't the first in Binghamton. The first was in 1889 on the Susquehanna River near Hooper, called the Broome County Country Club. Later moved up the hill to Binghamton Country Club. And I was somewhat familiar with golf, as we had a company named Golf Goods Manufacturing Company of Binghamton, New York. It's stamped right here on the club. Upper Court Street, they made all these beautiful hickory shafted wood clubs. If you happen to come across one, please do not touch it. Call me immediately. It's radioactive and I need to come and assess the situation. So, funny thing about my tower is the insurance guy came and checked out the guide wires, approved it, and the next morning the wind blew it down. It was tragic. I was heartbroken. And I was down in Florida, I had a private car, I had an orange grove down there as a snowbird before I knew what it was. Came up here and died 2 weeks later. I was so heartbroken in May of 1909. You've been a great audience. It's Halloween. We got some. I did the trick. You get the treat. You got some candy over here. You've been a very nice audience. Thank you.
Let's continue to meet our next spirit.